From the Ventura County Office of Education, this is the Focus on Education podcast. And now, here's your host, Ventura County Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Cesar Morales.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Focus on Education. I'm super excited to be at the new VCOE Welding and Testing Facility, which is the first of its kind in Ventura County. This is the only place in the county where welders can get their national certification from the American Welding Society. It also offers welding education for high school students and anyone in the community who wants to pursue a career in welding. We're here with Brace Helton, our Assistant Director of Welding Education. This facility has been years in the making. Brace, tell us, how do you feel in this moment that we're here finally achieving this milestone?
It's pretty surreal. As you said, it's been going on for years. This thing predates me by quite a bit. When I showed up, this thing was still just kind of a dream. We had a facility. Facilities and maintenance did an awesome job taking this thing down to the bare ground and building up from there. But it took a lot of work kind of putting everything together. So to be here, it's surreal. It's a lot of check boxes checked, a lot of milestones crossed. So it's pretty awesome.
And while we've always been proud to have welding education, we're extremely excited to take it to the next level and have an official certification site that'll not only help the students in our program, but also the students that attend the welding programs of the school districts within our county. Brace, I know we're all looking forward to the tour of the facility, but everything starts in the classroom. Why don't you walk us through this classroom, a little bit of the details before we go on into the shop?
Sure. As you mentioned, it all starts here. When a student shows up to our programs, the first thing we go over is safety, because that's first and foremost. So we'll spend the first week in this classroom, and during that time the students get OSHA 10 certified. That means they've had 10 contact hours with OSHA safety and health training. And so we'll have an OSHA trainer come in, and after that Mr. Roa will present videos going over theory, applications, different tips and tricks. We've got a lot of educational information on the walls from Lincoln Electric. One thing Mr. Roa, our head instructor, likes to focus on is to not be a neck down welder. We like people to think with their heads. It's not just an activity where you get in and you're just flailing around physically. You got to put your head and heart into it. So it all starts here, as you mentioned, and then heads out into the classroom.
So now that we've taken care of the safety and the beginning, let's head into the shop.
So after we get done with the classroom, we'll head to the demo booths, and that's where Mr. Roa will give the daily instruction, whether we're working on a certain type of weld joint, or if we're going over a certain safety practice, or if we're doing cutting. Any kind of exercises usually will end up in this demo booth. Once we start here, this is kind of our main gathering area. This is a weld joint that's currently fit up, so Mr. Roa can go over that, brief the students on what we're looking to expect in the day, how to operate safely, and basically how to take the lesson a step further to get the students to the hands-on portion that they're all looking forward to.
Well, that's great. All this opportunity, and definitely safety is paramount. Everyone gets to check out something in action before they try it themselves, make sure that they're learning the proper techniques, and stay safe.
Yeah, so after we get done with like a demo booth instruction, the students will break off into their welding booths. Here we have one. This welding booth is outfitted with a multi-process welder, so it's currently set up for a type of welding called stick welding or shielded metal arc welding. It's the fundamental welding process that we start each student off with. If they can master that, then they can take steps into the more advanced processes, and they kind of click a little better because they've already sort of built in the motor functions on the fundamental process. So this is a joint here. The student's welding a fillet weld in the vertical position. This is one student's test weld in here.
What's that contraption up there that has a hose attached, and this is a vent of some sort?
Yeah, so great question. So as we mentioned, the safety thing is paramount here. So one of the things that facilities did before we even well, actually it was one of the prime projects of this was the ventilation system. So we've got these Lincoln ventilation hoods that actually, as you start welding, even if I didn't click this thing on, it would start up automatically, so it's kind of a foolproof. But if you wanted to kick it on, you just click that switch and it's a fume extraction. So again, if we were to light up an arc right here, it would kick on automatically, but otherwise we can flip that switch. It's got a little light on there to help the students see. You can't weld what you can't see. And then
it's not that loud, so a teacher can still be providing guidance or instruction.
Yeah, even with a full class of these up, teachers can still announce if they need to halt work for any reason, if there's any safety issues. One of the things that facilities were very adamant about is to make sure that if a student's in here welding, that if a fire alarm went off or anything, you could still hear it, or you could still hear Mr. Rowe's instruction or call to attention. So, yeah. So after a student welds, let's say they go through and they've practiced, they've done everything that Mr. Rowe is looking for them to do, the next thing that they would naturally gravitate toward is back here. This is our certification area. This is the thing that kind of sets our facility apart now. When we got AWS, that's American Welding Society, when we got it accredited, we had this certification facility or section built so we can process a welder's test plate. We've got some examples over here, and this is the code. Say a welder wants to become structural steel welding certified. This is the code that is just for structural steel welding and certification. So there's sections in here that go over that all the requirements, so a student can practice accordingly. They can take a performance test. We test it, we inspect it, we bend it, and if it meets all those requirements, then that student becomes AWS certified.
Oh, awesome.
So these are some kind of examples here. This is what it looks like before it's welded. So we have most people are better visual learners than just reading it out of a book. So we took all that information that's just written verbally and kind of given them something to touch and look at. So there's certain requirements for this angle right here that you might be able to see. It's got to be 45 degrees. There's a small tolerance on that. There's a root opening in here that gives access to the weld for the welder to perform the function. There's a tolerance on that. So once they set their weld up, they set their plate up like that, they can start welding. So this is another demo that we have for the students to look at, because again, a lot of times students they watch a video but they don't know how to put it all together because it's still just abstract. So we try to give them some visuals. So you put your first pass in, then another cover pass, a couple fill passes, and right there, hot pass, a couple fill passes, and then a cover pass. Once you get to that point, if everything looks good, then we'll run it through this machine over here. You should check this thing out. This thing's pretty sweet. There's only I think there's 2 of them in California. We've got 1. So this is a coupon cutter. It's pretty state-of-the-art. So after a welder successfully completes a weld, this one's a practice weld and this one's mine, so it's not as pretty as it could be. But let's say they lay down a perfect weld, or not perfect, code acceptable. So it's an acceptable weld. We can put this thing in here. I'll save the details, but basically this chop saw will cut it to the exact specifications that the code requires, so there's no user error. It's high turnaround, so what this means is we can prep more welds faster to get results out quicker, to get people in the workforce even sooner. So this thing does it with repeatability and precision. So this thing's a pretty cool operation here. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this weldment into 2 coupons, and then we're going to take them over here to our bend tester, if you want to check that out. We're going to take them over here. Once we cut and polish them and grind them up, we're going to take them to this bend tester here, and we're going to bend them across this die right here. If we can bend it and it looks nice and clean like that, there are some code allowances for discontinuities and stuff. That's why that code it's pretty thorough. That's why it's so big. It gives you tolerances on what's allowed in there, how much of it's allowed in there, what things are an automatic deal breaker. As you can see, here's one that we cut up last year. I put it together just to kind of show you where everything came from. These are 2 bends here. This one had a a defect per code. It was too long. The code gives you exactly dimensions of what's acceptable, what's rejectable. So this one was a rejectable test, but that student was able to keep practicing and work toward perfecting that.
We're in the fabrication area right now, and Brace is going to give us a tour and let us know what this part of the shop does.
Yeah. So one thing we identified when we talk to industry partners out there is that they don't just want somebody who can weld in a booth, in a nice clean position, in a perfectly manicured booth. They want somebody who can cut, fit, fabricate, then weld, be the whole package. So what we have here is kind of a small version of that to get those students thinking about layout, dimensions, math, stuff like that, tolerances. We've got this is our iron worker here. This is where we can shear plates. This thing is a big old hydraulic press that basically shears a plate in half. You can punch holes, you can cut little corners in it, you can cut this thing that looks like a little jack-o'-lantern smiley face is actually for cutting bar stock, round stock, or angle iron. So this thing is basically just a big old, I think it's a 20-ton press that just separates steel. So this is where steel can be cut into shapes. Back here, we've got our CNC plasma table where we're looking to get it more integrated into our programs where students can actually provide the coding for cutting out certain shapes, so they can create that 4x4 piece of steel with holes at just the right spacing and do all the coding on that, and then we can get it plugged into here. And then
so you'd be tying in some programming element technology prior to that cut.
Yep, yeah, exactly. So we can get everything programmed on our computer, bring it out here, and then have this machine, it's CNC computer numerically controlled cutting. It just takes all those ones and zeros and cuts the plate out exactly as you programmed it. We've got some stuff here. This is a box brake. This is for bending sheet metal. Not everybody wants to be a structural steel welder. Some people might want to get into the sheet metal business. And here they can bend and break steel into just the right dimension. Over here we have a shear press, which is also another sheet metal item. Run that thing in there and it's basically just a cutter as well. And then, this thing's our bandsaw. We get the most use out of that because not only can you cut things for fabrication, but you can also cut test plates. So each of the test plates that we run a student through or a potential applicant through have to be cut at just the right dimension, just the right angle, all of that stuff. So we can set this bandsaw up to cut really nice, clean plates. Typically it'd be Mr. Roa in here doing a demo booth with the students. But here I've got a plate. This is actually a 3/8 test plate. That is one of the requirements for certification, or one option for certification, I should say. The joint is running vertically. And so if I were to take this weld and pass this certification test, say we did the weld, it got inspected, it looked great, we took it back there, we cut it up, we bent it, the CWI signs off on it. This would actually give me the ability to weld up to 3/4 of an inch thick steel, and it would allow me to weld in flat, horizontal, and vertical positions. So the code is written that if you take this one test, it actually gives you some bang for your buck. You can actually weld in a few different applications. So this is shielded metal arc welding, not to get too into the weeds on it, but it's basically a 70,000 PSI steel that's coated in a certain kind of flux that makes it react and melt in a certain fashion. So this is 7018. This stands for low hydrogen. So one of the reasons that welds crack is that they diffuse hydrogen when the pool is melted. Hydrogen from the atmosphere gets into that molten pool, and that can react in a way that causes cracking later. So this is it's just called low hydrogen electrode to prevent that. I've got the machine set at about 115 amps. That's kind of my go-to. Price and participation may vary. Different people like different settings. But I'll just show you a little demo on this.
So I'm sitting here getting ready to try a weld, but safety first. I got my safety glasses, and I'm about to get suited up.
We've got one of our Lincoln Power MIGs. It's a multi-process welder. It does MIG welding, flux core welding, stick welding. It can do TIG welding. Right now we have it set up for MIG welding. What that means, what it stands for, is metal inert gas. There's an inert gas in here that provides it provides atmospheric protection while your weld metal is cooling. And so with this one, a little bit different than the stick, you don't need to feed it in, you really just need to push this trigger. Once you push this trigger, it's go time. So you want to position in just the right way, get comfortable. There's ABCs of welding, always be comfortable. So I like to prop my arm up there while I'm practicing. And you can put this gun in the joint like that. Mm-hmm. And what we want to do is just pull the trigger, and you can either have a slight drag angle or a push angle. Actually, for you, it might be best to go kind of right to left. If you start here, you can push forward.
Okay.
You usually want to push with MIG. There's kind of a rule of thumb on that. So, if you have any questions, let me know. But otherwise, you're just positioning, getting comfortable, pulling the trigger, and it's go time.
There you go. There you go.
Check that out.
Yeah.
By the end of your first 5-inch, 6-inch practice, this is practice makes progress in action right there. So the settings were off right there. I had to change the settings, but then by that time, that's a acceptable weld right there. So, yeah. So that's what we do. We start off. We make our mistakes here because we don't want to make them in the field when we're welding on a critical component. We get better and bam, success.
Well, that was a lot of fun. I'm glad to see our students and community members that are in this program have this great facility, great instructors, and great equipment to get on their way for an amazing career in welding. We just wrapped up with a tour of our welding facility here at VCOE, and now it's time to ask a few probing questions so we can get to know our program a little bit more. The VCOE Career Education Center has offered welding classes for many years. So tell us, what's new about this facility now and go into the program?
Man, what's not new would be easier to answer. This thing was taken down literally to the concrete, and the concrete was polished while we were down there, and the entire room was gutted out. We got all new equipment. We've got all new welding booths, state-of-the-art welding machines. We've got ventilation to keep kids safe and learners safe. We've got this testing area, which is actually part of the accreditation. I'd say the accreditation is probably the biggest thing that's changed. We've always been able to educate welders, I think since 50 years ago this ROP program started, I believe. Mm-hmm. But now we can educate them, train them in the ways that they need to go, and certify them so they can get into the industry with industry-ready credentials.
Why is it so important right now for a welder to be certified by the American Welding Society?
So the way I like to explain it, there's often confusion between qualification and certification. Qualification is kind of meeting the needs. So think about if you want to get your driver's license. You're 16 years old, you know how to operate a vehicle. You're qualified to operate that vehicle. But until the DMV gives you your license, you're not certified. You're not legally allowed to operate that vehicle. With our facility, you can get that qualification. You can get the hands-on training that's required to be able to be proficient in that welding process. But then also we can run you through all of AWS's requirements for testing, make sure you meet the acceptance criteria. Then we submit the application on the welder's behalf to the AWS, and AWS will grant them that certification. So then they become certified. They become licensed to weld.
What opportunities are open to them when they become certified as opposed to qualified?
Good question. So my background is structural steel welding inspection, and one of the prerequisites, please don't show up unless otherwise, is that you're a certified welder. When I show up on a job, the first thing I do when I see a welder was to ask for their credentials. So if they come with credentials that are stamped by a certified welding inspector that operates a shop that isn't accredited, they're qualified. Some of those things are folded out of the back pocket, kind of look like they're written on an old napkin, that, you know, they don't hold as much credence, or they don't hold as much credibility, I should say. But if a welder pulls out their AWS, American Welding Society card that tells you that they're certified to weld anything on this structural steel job, you know that they have gone through the tests, they've gone through the required steps to be a licensed welder. So yeah, it's important.
What's the process for someone who wants to come here to get their AWS certification?
So it's fairly streamlined, actually. AWS doesn't have any kind of prerequisites as far as education or anything like that. You just need to have the skills. So it's really kind of a price and participation may vary. It depends on the applicant themselves. If they're a hard worker and they put in the time, the booth time, which is why we give all of our students ample booth time to develop those motor functions to perform the physical weld. If they can do that, then they can apply for the test. They book the test. We have a pretty slick online portal that allows them to book the test through us. They can schedule it and pay it all online. We make it really user-friendly. And they come here on the day of, perform the test. We'll cut it up, bend it. If it meets this code criteria, if it meets this, they're good to go. We provide them a certificate, and AWS sends them a card.
So a student could be currently in high school and in our education side of the house for their welding classes, or perhaps a community member post high school that is new to welding in general, get their education and then go through the steps to get certified. If there is already someone who, say, has gone through a high school welding program or a welding program out in the community outside of us, they're also able to interface with us to go through the AWS certification?
Yeah, so the AWS ATF stands for Accredited Testing Facility. There's requirements. If you want to be an AWS certified welder, you have to test at an ATF. We are the only one in Ventura County. So that puts us in a pretty cool spot. We have high school students. We have Introduction to Welding for high school students. We even have Introduction to Welding for adults, and we have Advanced Welding for adults. But we also just offer our services to the community at large. If you want to come and you're already an experienced welder, you can sign up, take your test, schedule it, then take your test, and we report that information to the AWS. And if you've checked all the boxes, you get your certification. So we have services for pretty much everybody.
That's awesome. What do we offer for people who want to learn to be a welder? I know you've hit that up, so I'm interested in welding. I'm going to look online or talk to a friend, and I come and talk to you or our teacher. What does that look like from there?
So, cool thing about our facility is we're pretty easy to get a hold of and in touch with. So if you're interested, you can come by for a tour. We have some dates where we've got actually some prospective touring happening later on today and later on this week. People just want to come in and check it out and see if this is a place where they can kind of thrive and excel. So we offer tours to educate you. We offer Introduction to Welding for high school students. It starts out with an OSHA 10 certification, so you already have an industry-ready credential. Before you even start welding, you're already certified safe, so you can go home the same condition you came into the shop. And then we run through theory and then a whole bunch of hood time, because nothing beats actually doing the welding itself. You can learn about it, you can read about it, you can watch Facebook or YouTube videos, but until you actually put hands on, you can't really call yourself a welder. So we have those types of courses for high schoolers. We have that very same course, Introduction to Welding for adults, where we go through the safety, we go through the introduction and the theory, and then give you booth time. But then we've also got advanced adults who can come in and say we showed a couple processes today. There's stick welding. Say you're pretty good at stick welding, but you haven't quite mastered MIG welding. Or TIG welding. Say you want to get into aerospace and you want to get into this other process. You can come here and focus strictly on that one. That one's a little bit more or a little less instruction heavy and more just you putting in the hours, you getting proficient, learning that kind of tactile and motor function skill, and getting ready for a certification test.
Oh, wow. What a great opportunity that you have here. It seems like folks not only have an opportunity, but they can customize throughout their welding career. What kind of career opportunities are available for welders in Ventura County right now?
So Ventura County specifically it's kind of a nice meeting ground for a lot of different industries. We've got Ventura County Naval Base. They're one of the biggest employers in Ventura County. One of like the lifebloods, the DNA of that base is largely their Seabees, who is a battalion that is strictly focused on construction and engineering, which is why one of our first partnerships we actually had out was the Sea Cadet Corps. There was a bunch of, I think they were 10 years old to 17 years old. These are the future builders of America. We let them come in for a one-day introduction class where me and Mr. Roa gave them kind of a condensed version of everything, and we spent a lot of time in the booths welding, and we're looking to kind of keep that partnership going. So Naval, which is critical to national defense. We've got aerospace. There's companies out in Camarillo that focus on aerospace welding. There's structural. Just think about it this way. Welding is one of the building blocks of our infrastructure. There's not a thing you can touch or see that hasn't been affected by welding. Welding goes into our phones. It builds the factories that make our phones. They build the trucks that keep delivering the goods, like welding has touched everything. So the sky's the limit. It just depends on how much you want to get in and specialize. If you want to just kind of get in as a general welder, there's opportunities, but if you want to specialize, we've got basically aerospace welding is kind of the lab grade pinnacle of welding cleanliness and all that stuff. So the sky's the limit.
That's awesome. What I'm hearing about is some private opportunities in welding within the Navy system. Then we also have opportunities building and the building trades. I'm sure we have, you want to talk about any of the partnerships we're fomenting with the Iron Workers Union as an example, or any other labor groups that focus on welding?
Yeah. So last year we had our first partnership formed with the Tri-County Apprenticeship Program. They came and spoke to our students, where they're kind of like a hub to send students out to whatever trade organization they want to get into, whether it be carpentry, electricians, welding, pipe fitters, stuff like that. That was one of our first partnerships that actually came in and spoke to our class. We also last year had an ironworker representative come out. He spoke to our class and presented the options and opportunities that the ironworkers present. There's also pipe fitters. We're trying to reach out to them and form a partnership with them. If a student wants to get in and become a general private sector welder, working at a project shop, there's room for that. But if they want to specialize and get into these trade unions like iron workers and pipe fitters, you can grow exponentially at that point and unlock all sorts of earnings, which we can talk about if you'd like. But
definitely Ventura County is a population that's declining. Our student population mirrors that. Affordability is often talked about, the cost of housing, the cost of rents. Definitely we want students to be successful and independent and positive contributors to our society. Is welding a career that comes along with an affordable wage and a good living? And what's the scope of that look like? Like entry point and high-end opportunities? Okay,
yeah. So again, price and participation may vary. If you're an applied worker that wants to get in and roll their sleeves up and get to it, you can expect when you get out of our shop, get out of our program, and you're ready to join the workforce. We've had some students pick up jobs starting at $25 an hour, $25 an hour. The range for entry level is probably $20 to $28 an hour. During that time, you're going to be getting paid to get more experience. So that's a benefit. You're going to get in and get your feet wet, basically. Once you kind of couple that with a few years of experience and some certifications, which we can always help with, you couple that with experience and certifications, you can step up to around $35 to $45 an hour. I review job offerings in Ventura County. There's a 3 to 5 years experience preferred, $35 to $45 an hour pay. Those are fully livable wages, and if you're applied, you can achieve that. And then with our partnerships with the iron workers and stuff, that just keeps, we don't have any partnerships to where we become like a pipeline for iron workers or pipe fitters necessarily, but awareness definitely helps. One of our students last year that got certified, actually he got qualified because we were not AWS ATF certified at that point. So we went through the tests. I wrote him a document saying he is now qualified to weld per D11, that big code book right there. He's actually waiting to hear back from the Ironworkers Union. He's just looking for a sponsor to get in. Positions like that are ones that we're always trying to keep on the forefront for students, because you get picked up at about $25 to $26 an hour, and you get a raise every 6 months, and they train you. You leave with no student debt. In 5 years, you journey out, and you can make upwards of 50, I think 52-ish for ironworkers, don't quote me on that, and then up to like $60 an hour for pipe fitters. That's no debt. That's making over $100,000 a year. You just got to be that type that wants to hustle and make it happen.
Wow, these are great opportunities, and I hope the careers in welding continue to be discovered by our youth and community members, and I hope more people take advantage of them, because definitely building is happening in our county. There's high needs in different sectors, and it's going to happen. And it's going to happen with welders from Ventura County or welders outside of Ventura County. I would just love for it to be welders within the county so that folks can live here and afford to live here. And what great thing that VCOE and our welding program here, through the leadership of Brace, can be part of the journey of so many people. I'd like to wrap up with just how can people sign up for the classes and testing. I know we covered it kind of globally, but if I'm sitting in a conversation and a gathering and someone says, I have a son or daughter that is interested, where do they go to sign up?
So you can go to Google and type Ventura County Welding, and we should show up. But if it doesn't, vcoe.org/welding. The URL is nice and tidy. You can go there, you can learn about our education programs, you can book and pay for a certification exam, you can find my number, you can find one of the ladies in the office's number to ring us up and ask us more questions. We're here to make welders out of people, so we try to make it pretty easy to get a hold of us.
Well, Brace, thank you so much for your dedication, focus, and leadership. Without your leadership, we wouldn't have gotten here with as high a quality as possible. I know you're not alone. There's a team of people from our facilities department, our maintenance department, our business department, and a lot of enthusiasm. But more than that, Brace mentioned that we've had a welding program here for over 50 years. And we have a long history at Ventura County Office of Education with supporting career education center here, our ROP programs historically, and we've had a long-standing tradition to continue to support careers. And I'm very happy that during this era where I'm here, we decided to have the goal of having a certification site to take our welding program to the next level, to serve our students and those programs throughout our county and beyond. As Brace said, we're the only certification site in Ventura County, and there's not one close by. So I know we're going to be benefiting many of the adjacent counties as well. But with that, thank you, Brace, for your time, and we look forward to hearing a lot of success stories of our students, and I look forward to hearing from our agency partners talking about all the great contributions our students have in the workforce.
Yeah, appreciate it, Dr. Morales. Thanks for the time and the support and the vision and everything. It's been awesome.
Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Focus on Education is a production of the Ventura County Office of Education. We encourage you to subscribe and join us each month for new episodes. You can find Focus on Education wherever you get your podcasts or at vcoe.org/podcast. We also welcome your feedback. You can email us at communications@vcoe.org.